Okay, I'm back. So, you buy new parts. I mean, this is from Wolfberg West. It's no knock on Wolfberg. This has probably got a little paint in the threads. But the thing I'm going to bring up is it's always handy to have, like a good tap handle and a set of metric taps. This is M8125, which is probably used on a number of them. So I got a set of metric taps. I also have a second set of metric taps that have the corresponding drill size if you were to drill a block and tap it, and they're metric drills. I also have a die set that's just your standard size that we work with on the bus. You don't need a huge selection. So, yeah, a good tap handle. There, I like to have them. So, here's the grub screw, for the coupling. Alright, go to put it in. I mean, you should just be able to. Oh, I'm on camera, my fingers are nervous. Trust me, it did get started. This has not been chased. It's been tapped, but I hadn't chased the threads. Okay, it goes about that far with your finger. You can't turn it. Now this side, I chased the threads. So, I mean, as you can see, can easily run the screw all the way down if I want by my hand. Look at that with my fingers. So I ran that all the way down flush to where it's hitting the block. That stops right there. What I have too, you can get cutting fluid or tapping fluid. I have an oil can that I keep SDP oil treatment in. I use this a lot. I mean, it's really handy. I mark the can, SDP oil treatment. OSHA wants you to do that anyway. And, oh, there we go. So I just put a little dab will do ya. I don't know if you guys remember, when I was a kid, they had this ladies, well, it's called dippity-doo. You get a little dab will do ya, dippity-doo. You put it in your hair and your hair will do whatever you want. If I remember right, my older brother had, was it Brill cream? When he kind of had that Elvis Presley flip back look. So it doesn't take much to chase the threads, get it started straight. Just kind of go forward a little bit and you back up. Especially if you're cutting new threads. When you back up, it breaks the chip. Just run it back in. And I'm going to run it till I bottom out against the ID wall. And so you always have something. I mean, right? Of course, I gotta tighten up my tap handle. All right, I got so many things in my hands. Let me turn this off and tighten my tap handle. I'll turn it back on in a minute. Okay, we're back. Need 5 hands. So, well, I always say so. You know me. Get new parts. Got a test fit them, clean threads. It's amazing too, you know, before you had that big long talk about, you know, manufacturing a part and where all the dollars go. But if you notice, a lot of suppliers, so if you buy this coupler, you're going to need the grub screws with it. So they don't sell it. You would think they would give you a price saying, here is the coupler with your 2 grub screws. But no, you got to buy the coupler. Oh, and you got to buy the grub screws separately. They get you coming. The only thing that might happen is if you forget, you're not thinking straight, and you realize, man, my old grub screws, I don't have them, or they're nasty, I want to replace them, and you forget to order them. So there we have it. Look at this. It's just going to thread down all the way to the bottoms. So now I can try the coupler on the rod that I've been taking the rust off of. And I saved you the boredom, kind of like watching paint dry. So this was the end that was heavily rusted. This goes to, are you ready? The front shaft. So you got your front shaft that your shifter goes in. So this slides in here. And she does. Line up the holes, and then over this you have the collar. So I'll test fit those parts. I had so much fun taking this apart. I'm going to make sure I put anti-seize inside that. So the next guy that maybe does it will hopefully think of me and say, man, thanks for doing that, bus man. And then here's the end of the solid shaft that goes to the tranny and where this coupler goes. Actually, this actually is a tube, and what they did is they pressed a round stock in there. It looks like they rolled it over, and then you have your detent drilled mark. Oh, look at that. Did you see that? So that fits, that slides on. In fact, if I run this grub screw down, I wonder why they call it a grub screw. Do you have any idea why they call it a grub screw? Maybe the guy was making it and said, you know, we need to come up with this name for the screw that we drilled a hole through. What do you think? And the guy on the machine probably said, well, I think we should go grab some grub first, then think about it. And then the other guy said, well, that's what we'll call it, a grub screw. Think so? Maybe not. All right, and then this end, obviously, goes into the transmission shaft. So I will test fit that too, make sure that fits well. So that cleaned up, and I have a new bushing. Let's slide over it. I have two actually. So I have the second one with the bushing, which this one will go right here. By the way, it wasn't too long ago, HEPA Garage, Brett, he went through and he cleaned his shift rod, and he cleaned the inside of his shift rod tube on the bus. And a big thanks, at least for me, to him. On my end, this is a 69 bus, and it was really helpful. Not only seeing, and Brett looks at how all the parts function. And that's something I left in the comment saying I need to spend more time and less time thinking about the guy that made this part. I need to think about how is this part supposed to function and what's critical. So Brett showed, like, you know, like a badminton birdie, how this end goes this direction. And then this ridge is where it rubs, or if it does hit, on the ID of the tube that he cleaned out with a scrub pad. And here is the second end right here, and we would have the second one here, and then of course this end that fits in the ID of the front tube for the shifter, in which the end of this front tube that's painted black, but there's another bushing. I should take the old one out and put the new one in, test fit it, see how smooth that will be. So once again, a big thank you to HEPA Garage for showing all the detail. I mean, it really makes it easy for someone who's just about to do the same thing. His video work is excellent. I know it had to take a terrible amount of time with the lighting, the angle. He shows the underneath of the bus. I can't get down under the bus. If I do, I better have a pillow with me because I'm gonna be there for a while. And so it was not my bus, but it gave me an opportunity to see where things were at. Okay, I'm going to continue on. I'm going to make sure these parts test fit. I'm going to put these parts on. I'm going to put a light coat of grease on this shaft. Put some anti-seize on the ID of the front part. Put the front bushing on here, which requires two. And then also the small one in the front that goes up where your floor shifter is. I believe the main reason this shaft got so rusted towards the end, there is a rubber boot that goes over the tube to keep the weather and moisture out. And that boot was missing on mine, so the weather really got to this. So I have all the boots. There's a rubber boot that's in the front and back of the tube that this rod goes in. And of course you have the bushings. And if you look at Wolfberg West, they have an exploded view that does a great job showing everything. All right. You're probably going to say, Busman, when are you going to, stop talking and get on with getting more work done? I'm going to do that now. I'm probably going to try to tackle that bolt that broke where the shifter is and see what I can do on that. We'll talk to you later. Bye.